Sure.
All right. How's everybody doing today? So now, are we doing the multiplayer? So I noticed here from the playtest version here that the player created levels is kind of been removed for the demo.
It's been removed from the demo. Yeah, we don't have the player creation tool ready quite yet. Unfortunately, we're looking forward to that. But yeah, it's not in the demo, and it'll be a while before we have it fully in there.
That works out good then. That works out pretty good because that's like, I think people would probably be really excited if they saw it there and weren't able to use it. You know.
Yeah, that's right. We did have that feedback. People, I want to try this. I want to try this, but like, yeah, it's not available yet. We don't want to be too much of a tease.
Yeah, absolutely. Get people kind of bummed out. Now, I did also notice like the single players, it's down to 2 missions now.
We may add a third and a fourth mission next week during the event, but for now we've just parted it down to 2, mainly because the other missions are fairly complicated, so we still need to do quite a bit of QA on them. We don't want people to kind of go down black holes, so it's 2 for now, but it'll go back up to 3 or 4.
Absolutely makes sense because yeah, that third mission, that's the one we have to get all the cards, right?
The third mission is quite hard, yeah. Yeah, it's got all the cards. You got multiple doors to go through and so on, yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of, that got stressful. That definitely got stressful. I was talking to Chad about it last night, and there was like the door where you have to have one person standing on it to where you guys can kind of unlock something specific there, but you didn't actually need the multiplayer to finish the level. It's just that, I don't know if that was like a shortcut with 2 people.
Yeah, that was a 2-person shortcut. That's right. Yeah, it needs some redesign, so we're working on that right now. So hopefully we'll be releasing a 3rd and a 4th level next week sometime.
Gotcha. Let me see here. Do you have a multiplayer level that we're going to jump into, or you want me to create a private game or public game, or how do you want to do this?
Yeah, so there's one level. It gets randomized to some extent for each game, so I can explain a little bit how it works. I don't see the stream right now. Let me just check if I. So just so I can see what you're seeing. I guess I can't do that.
Yeah, it's weird. There's a little bit of a delay. I have it set to no delay at all, but there's like a 30-second delay still. Let me see.
And actually, are you streaming YouTube or are you streaming Twitch?
YouTube.
I don't see it, but maybe I'm in the wrong place. Let me just check again.
Should be.
All right, I see it now.
Okay, you got it. Okay. I was like, it should be live. Let me double check and make sure, but I'm pretty sure we're live.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah. So, so we can play a private game or a public game. So just to explain the difference, if you create a private game, you'll get a key that you can share with some folks. It's up to 6 players. And then share that in Discord or wherever, and then people can jump into that game. If you do a public game, then that server is open for people to join from anywhere. Right now, there are very few people that have keys to this build, so there won't be many of those games. But the idea is you can just jump into a game. If you've already played the single player, right?
Yeah, I played all of level 1, level 2. I demoed level 1 last night because they were asking like, well, what kind of game is it? So I kind of demoed off level 1 for them to show them kind of like the kind of game.
Yeah, awesome. So you're a pro.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's good. Yeah. So what happened was we were building primarily a single player and co-op last year, and we definitely want to bring the co-op back. And we built more and more of the single player missions, and people found them fun. But then we created this competitive mode, which is what we're going to play right now. And the idea behind competitive mode is, like in most arena games, you're trying to kill the other players. But in this game, you can't actually damage the other players directly, but you can use the environment on them. And it's essentially you're trying to gather as much loot while you're in the arena or in the level. And at the end of the level, there's also a big prize, which is a golden acorn. And when you grab that, that ends the game. And it's also worth a lot of points. You can win without getting the acorn, but it's pretty difficult.
Okay.
And you'll see on the little counter. So as you collect stuff, that'll go up. There are some things which give you negative points, which I'll let you find out. And it's also, it's not as straightforward as just running to the acorn and grabbing it. There are security doors that you have to get through. And as you'll see on the right side here, it's explained there are gray cards which don't do anything by themselves. You have to put them in a machine and programming them to make a different color. So you can make them green, yellow, or red, and that'll open these green, yellow, or red doors.
Gotcha.
You can leave the doors open or close them behind you. It depends if you want the other players to get through. So we can play a 2-player game, and then if we have time, if someone from chat wants.
All right, that sounds pretty good. I think we might have lost a little bit of audio there. I was trying to make sure everything was looking good, but it seems to be fine now. But yeah, let me see. Okay. Yeah, we could jump in. So I've got like if we go to like a public game, then just jump straight into the public game.
Well, maybe if we're going to play 2, well, the code will be up there so people can join. Yeah, but yeah, make a public game, and I'll join the public game.
Okay, so we have ARKHKD.
Alrighty. Actually gonna. Someone can stream snipe us. But hey.
Absolutely.
All right, so you can start the game. Spectator mode is just if you don't want to actually control the character, but let's not do that because we'll play against each other.
Okay.
All right, so you should be getting a loading screen.
Well, and I noticed
there's some little tweaks we're making to the controls as well. Try to make it a bit easier.
All right, and I did notice too, yeah, because I saw the controls here, but it was kind of. I noticed there was a pickpocket option. Oh, I play a naked mole rat?
Yeah, it's randomized character. So you're the naked mole rat right now.
That's absolutely awesome.
The downside of that character is he's pretty flaky, but if he hits someone, he's pretty meaty. So you'll be in one of these little rooms. So I'm Peggy. My character's faster than yours a little bit, but can't hit as hard.
Yeah, I noticed there was a pickpocket option too.
There is, yeah. If you stand behind someone, you can pick their pocket.
So that goes for like the.
Yeah, you can try to pick my pocket. I'm standing right next to you.
Oh, so if you had. Oh, I take your money. Okay, I thought maybe it was like going into the inventory and being able to.
It does. It takes a random item from the inventory, but the inventory it affects your score total. So
gotcha.
that money counter on the right is actually the score total.
Okay, cool. That makes sense. So and now we're looking for the
the green glowing thing is one of the machines that you use to convert cards, but you got to find some cards. So the first order of business is to go find some gray cards.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah.
This is a like tutorial mode.
That way, yeah. I remember like having the green card or the gray card to turn it into a gold card in that one level we were just talking about. That's like super difficult.
Yeah. So what happens every level is it's randomized. So where the cards are is a little bit random. If you press M, you'll see on the map, you'll see me and you'll see yourself. You'll see where the machines are, and you'll also see where the question marks are where the gray cards could be.
Oh, okay. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, Justin, he's got a dong. I love it. That cracked me up the first time I saw this, where he had the blur spot.
There are also power-ups now in the game, which don't appear
all right
in the normal game. you'll find those, I'm sure.
Oh, the little heals and stuff like that, and then power-ups. What? Okay. Now, okay. When I was doing the play test, I beat all the levels. After beating the levels, it took me to an area kind of looked like this, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
But it had like, you had to get the beer and you got points for it. So I was guessing that maybe I was accidentally glitched into the area. I can't get in there because I don't have a green key. Oh, we got a rubber on the floor, though. That's fantastic, dude.
That's your protection buff. Of course.
I got to make it as pleasurable as possible. Oh, no, I got.
Yeah, you may have ended up in this level while we were testing it. So apologies for that confusion.
Oh, no, it's fine. I was thinking, okay, I'm going to edit this out of the video, right? Because it was when I was recording a video for it. I'm like, I'm going to edit this out of the video because I'm pretty sure I'm not intended to be here. So instead, I just kind of left it alone, edited it out of the video, and then re-recorded my outro for the video because I was like, I don't know if they want people to see this. I don't know if it's part of the game. I don't know if it's something they're going to incorporate into the game later, so I don't want really to incorporate a bunch of spoilers, things like that.
Thanks, I appreciate that. Yeah, you probably had just a slightly early version of this. This is, like I said, it's kind of a late-breaking addition that we've made. And we just thought it would be more fun for Next Fest to be able for people to play against each other. And we're also going to run a live contest so people can compete. And there's actually some little prizes for that. It should be fun. Like $100 is the top prize. So it's not it's not going to change your life, but it's good to have a bit of glory.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, and $100 is $100. I really don't know anybody who would turn it down and say no. No, I don't want to go there because the price is only $100. You know what I mean? Like that's
there you go.
So that's just pretty good though. Like, run! I gotta go find this acorn or a gray key.
Gotta find some gray keys. I can give you a clue. So if you want to go up from where you are right now, there's a big. If you look on the map, there's a big room with a lot of question marks. There'll be a bunch in there.
Oh, okay, off to the side. Okay, I got you. I see it. Yeah. Is his audio coming through now, Justin?
You're close to me now, I think. Once you played a couple of times, it becomes kind of a race, and then you end up like trying to attract the guards and bringing them down on the other players and locking doors on them. Yeah, you're in the room with see those gray machines that are around? They're like storage cabinets.
Oh, so okay, they are.
If you look inside of them, some of them have
great cards there.
Some of them might be broken keys, but some of them will be key cards.
Gotcha.
I'm chased by a guard right now. I can't get rid of him.
I thought you were luring him to me, kind of, because I was explaining that last night about like you could kind of do that, right? You get these guys kind of aggroed and then lure them over to the people you're playing against, and then that way.
Yeah, I'm playing nice right now. Did you find a gray key card?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I did.
Okay, so now you need to find a machine to convert it.
Oh yeah, those pink machines.
The first key you need is green. I'll give you that hint.
I just got again. All right, cool. Just making sure.
Yeah, it's a little bit tricky. You're definitely more vulnerable.
Let's see.
I'm being chased all over. I cannot get rid of this guard. I think I'm gonna have to snap him. Oh, that didn't go well. Oh, well, maybe.
Let me check my.
There are also things on the walls you can steal. So some of the paintings are safes. Some of the paintings are stealables. But you can't just grab them. You have to actually yank them off the wall, and it takes a little bit of time. So while you're doing that, someone can come up and pickpocket you.
Gotcha.
As you can imagine, with 6 players in here, it gets pretty chaotic.
Oh yeah, I could only imagine, dude. I could only imagine. And like I said, because you said there was a co-op level, or was there going to be co-op too? So like you guys could work together.
The plan is there that we want the level creation so people can create levels that are challenges and then play them in co-op mode with each other.
Gotcha.
So this is the competitive mode, and then we'll see what people really want to do. This is part of doing the development in public. Another option, obviously, is rather than having just single players here, you could have 2v2, 3v3, those kind of scenarios.
Gotcha. Oh, I don't have. I gotta go get another card.
Let's see where you are. I'm gonna come find you. Oh, you got it. You got through the green door already.
Yeah, I found the green door. I got it, or the green paint thing. I gotta go. I found the yellow paint thing too. I just need to go find the gray card so I can paint it yellow.
Yeah, or you can just find a yellow machine. If you find a yellow machine, that works too. You just need a gray card for it. Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool. I didn't know that. So there it is. I'll grab this.
So one of the things we're working on right now for Monday is just making it more obvious in the game what the objectives are up front. So changing the loading screen so you see all this information about what this game is about, how it works, what you should be aiming for.
Gotcha. And Justin had a question. So will the game end if both of you get knocked down, or can you both revive indefinitely?
You both revive indefinitely.
Okay, cool.
And the guards revive as well, actually. After a while, they pop up.
Oh, so you got to be careful for the respawn.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Paint it yellow. Boop. You need a yellow paint for that. So I have to find a yellow. I have to find a yellow paint then.
Or find a yellow machine. I think where you are, you're pretty near a yellow machine. Do you see the yellow machine at the top of your screen? Yeah, if you go in there, that one's already yellow. You can just use it. Oh, it's asking you to paint it yellow.
I keep doing it. It says you need a paint for that.
All right, okay.
So let me go get around. Let me see if I can find a different.
It'll either be paint or there'll be another machine that's yellow already.
Oh, okay. Oh, what's this? This is a little buff. Oh, yeah. Let's go.
You found the speed buff.
Yeah. I'm still clumsy, but we'll get it. So theoretically, well, technically, I should be able to like go just use the machine and it will automatically paint it green if I have the, or like yellow if I have the gray card.
If you find a yellow machine, yes. If you find a gray machine, then you need to paint it yellow. I'm just trying to look at where you are. I see two yellow machines.
Okay. So my idea to kill everyone isn't a winning solution. No, it doesn't sound like it, Justin. That's kind of what I was thinking too, with the whole knock everybody out. You're the last one standing, and just be good to go. But yeah, the respawning definitely does make it more of a challenge because then everybody, because everybody is going to be able to respawn. Like you said, even the enemies will be able to respawn. So
yeah, they take longer than the players in general, but that means you don't end up with one area cleared that everyone can just walk through easily.
Yeah.
There are some catch-up mechanics, which is that as time goes by, more people have keys, and doors often get left open, and you get more and more keys, so it's easier and easier to get towards the end of the level. So I'll actually do this convert a card, I think. Do it for now. Like the first game, obviously, since there aren't many tutorials out there or anything like that, it's a little bit harder to figure out what's going on. But I see you're in disguise mode. It's kind of, you can explore it together, but then you pretty quickly figure out how to start winning. So I'm gonna make a yellow card. All right. I'm gonna leave the yellow door open.
playing cards for the slot machines. That's pretty cool. What is this one? I don't need a broken card, I'm assuming here. Yeah,
Nope.
just a paper bag. I love the, like I said, that was one of my favorite things when I first time I played this game was the art style. You know, when I saw the naked mole rats with the blur, I was like, okay, they are naked mole rats, so makes sense. And then the ribbed rubber and the what is it? The paper bag. It cracks me up. It's a cool art style concept too that like a lot of games don't explore, even though they could. It keeps the humor alive in the game for sure.
Yeah, you gotta have it. If you're gonna do something like this, you gotta have a bit of fun with it. I mean, I think a lot of games do a great job with art, but there's also a lot of games that take a very safe approach. I think where, you know, some people don't like this style, some people really love it and prefer to be in a place where you have some people that really love it rather than everyone is like, meh. We'll see how the broader public takes to it at Next Fest, but we're pretty happy with doing something a little bit distinctive. I'm clearing stuff out. I see this one's... I can't paint that red because I don't have the paint. So you should be able to get through the yellow door, by the way. I did leave it open.
Oh, you left it open?
Yep.
All right.
As I said, first time round, you might want to play it in co-op mode when you're playing with more people.
Yeah, that would make more sense. Because the first, at least until you get familiar with the map, that's for sure.
Yep.
And
make myself invisible. So what I could do is while we're doing this, you're still exploring. You can get through the yellow door. If there are some people in chat that would like some keys, I can drop them. I can either drop them in the chat. Let me see. Drop that. The thing is, each key will only work once, so it'll be a bit of a race in chat. There. Let me see. I could also put them in Discord. What do you think is good for key distribution?
I mean, just we could do like a first come first serve race to the finish type of thing, and just drop them off in chat.
Sure, I'll do that in a second. Let me just find a safe hiding place because I keep getting whacked.
All right. Yeah. So
I'm gonna hide. All right, hiding.
See.
All right, I sneaked. All right, so I'm gonna drop.
Where's my? There we go.
Some activation keys.
I just hit Discord to voice activate because, like you said, I keep getting sidetracked and not paying attention. So
it's hard. Yeah.
Like running around holding down tilde is not the most feasible thing.
Yeah, that's pretty difficult. Okay, so I'm going to drop some activation keys. You need a Steam account. I presume people know how to do that, but like in Steam.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
So yeah, we'll do a each key is only going to work once. But if we run out, I can put some more.
Sounds good. Sounds good. It's not.
All right, I just dropped. I might have to do it one by one because it's. Huh. Yeah, so I'm gonna have to do it one by one. All right, this will be fun. There's one. Two. Three. And as I said, the app's being updated every day, so especially by the weekend should already be in pretty good shape. But Monday is when hopefully we'll have everything super polished. And then there's also, I'll drop that in chat. There's the contest that we're organizing. Someone just died.
Yeah, I got rid of a weasel.
Excellent. It's a little bit crazy that we're doing a contest for a game that's so raw, but we figured it'd be a bit of fun, so I put that in there as well. If we ran out, if those keys stop working and there are too many people that have grabbed keys, let me know and I'll put a couple more in. Issued. All right. I'm gonna try find you on the map now.
Awesome. I'm in the kitchen. I just cooked a stew.
Oh, nice.
I don't know. I'm assuming like, so the little medium tasks, right? So like, that's what I was saying when I was playing it and I accidentally stumbled upon this level. I found like, you know, a bottle of beer.
Yep.
And then I went to fill up the bottle of beer, but it wasn't doing anything. I was getting a score, but I wasn't able to loot it again. I didn't know what it was. So I was like, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna ask about that, but I'm not gonna incorporate that into the video just in case it's something that either is intended on being incorporated but hasn't been yet, or something that you haven't actually incorporated.
Yeah, so as you play, you want to max your score. An empty beer glass will get you a few points, but a full one gets you a lot more. So you want to fill up those bottles and put them in. Right now, they don't give you any extra power or anything like that. We also might do things like you can distract guards with drinks and things in the future.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of things we can do in this world, which is what we really want to kind of play with over time. Let's go back again. But yeah, currently it'll affect your score, so I think you get like 10 points for a beer mug. But if you fill the beer mug and you have it in your inventory at the end, that'll add to your points.
Gotcha.
And as I said, you can win even if you're not the person that finds the golden acorn, and if you've really amassed a pretty big points total.
So, okay. So like, for instance, like right now I got 347 to 5, right? So even if I don't get the key card or the golden acorn, like you said, I can still potentially win with the point score itself.
Yeah.
So that's a really cool idea too, because then, you know, somebody who might not, I found the, okay. So people who might not be as efficient at the game can still have a potential of winning just by doing side tasks, which is pretty cool. I like that concept, giving people an easier way or another way to complete the game.
Yeah, so our objective is to have a few different ways that are all somewhat plausible, but there are sort of different paths that you have to commit to.
Nice.
So it looks like you're causing a ruckus.
Yeah, just a little bit. What is this machine here? Nothing? Okay. Let's use the power. Oh, inventory's full, so I gotta drop an item. Let's see. Let's go ahead and drop the... Wait.
The items will tell you at the top right how many points they're worth. So you can...
Oh, okay. So,
tell.
oh, like that right there. We want to get rid of that for sure. Filthy cannibals. Oh, because it's ham and more pigs. Gotcha. That took me longer to figure out than it should have.
There's a few little gags here and there.
What about this? No, it says there's a note with the code written on it. Does that note actually mean anything, or is it going to mean something in the future potentially?
In this mode, it doesn't, but yeah, it's useful in one of the other levels.
Gotcha. Oh, that bag only lasted a split second. Oh, there's so many guys. Now, I keep getting these gray cards, and like I'll go to a red machine, for instance, right? But the machine says I need the red paint in order to...
And the machine is already red?
Yeah. I'll try it again. Maybe I'm mistaken.
Yeah, you have a card, so that's fine.
Let me see here.
I'm watching the stream, but that's a little bit delayed, so...
Yeah, it's a little bit, but let me see. The red, I don't remember where the red computer was. I know it was in a room, I think, with a bunch of beer casks in it. Oh, I got stuck. You wait till I get up, sir. I'll slap you with my blur spot. Let me see.
So there's one red computer that's in it's a room shaped like an onion.
Room shaped like an onion?
Far right. Well, it's like two concentric circles.
Oh, okay.
I'm just trying to see where you are.
Let's see. Okay, up at the top right. That's why I was mistaken, because the vent.
On the far right, yeah.
Yeah. I climbed through a vent and I forgot how I got here. Or got back here, I should say. Yeah, I'll get back this way. And I like that there's a cooldown on the burst, right? Because that could easily be abused for sure.
It can be a little bit OP. Yeah, and the different characters have different bursts.
Oh, okay.
Slightly different at least.
Nice. So somebody might, some character might be able to have a lesser cooldown.
Yeah.
Nice.
Maybe less cooldown, but more, but less range, that kind of thing.
Got you. Okay. So it's something that could be exploited potentially, but not necessarily.
Yeah, we're
oh, I can't get through the vent this side.
If you can't, if you can boost all the time, that's not great. But
no, and that's kind of what I was thinking. Because I didn't really pay attention to it when I was playing single player mode, right? Because I would just do it when I needed to. Mm-hmm. But having the ability of, as a multiplayer function, being able to burst like that and do a nice dash really kind of could become super OP if it gets taken advantage of. Oh, come on, let me in here. All right.
Yeah, one of the things is that's really useful for attracting guards to somewhere and then dashing away and leaving the guards with the person that you just walked by.
Yeah.
Because they get distracted and they lose you, but they acquire the other target. But you don't want to be able to do it all the time. So that red machine you're with, are you able to convert with that?
No. If you're still watching the stream here, it pops up. It still says the same thing. You need a red paint for that.
Yeah, that one's actually pink. As in it's not ready to go.
Oh, you have to wait till it's charged. So if you just went and got your red card.
If you've got red paint, then you can paint it red. But there's a machine which is actually red, which I can route you to. So
okay.
If you head down from where you are, and a little bit further down, yeah, and then round over to the right from where you are.
Oh, that bright red machine over there.
That's the one. That's the kind of machine that's already gonna convert the.
Gotcha. Okay. That's where I was getting confused at, because I was like, oh, there you are. I see you hiding. Was it in this room? No, it's the next room over. Oh, there's lasers too. Oh, dude. Come on, get in there.
Security.
Yeah, there is.
So we want to up the ante as you get closer to the goal.
Ooh, that's not just a alarm laser. That's a death laser.
Oops, I just got...
Oh, you got discovered?
Yeah.
Okay, this makes sense. So that's where I was getting confused, because it was like... It was confusing me where I'd go up to the machine and hit it and it says you need a red paint. Like, I didn't know. Yeah, because what I thought it was, the reason I was thinking of that was like when you were selling me, like, that's what I was saying, like it has a cooldown on it or something. Is like if somebody comes over here, if I paint my card red and I run away, but you have a red card, you got to wait for that to re-pop or find another red machine, because that one's got a cooldown on it.
No, the machines don't have a cooldown. But it happens to me all the time. Like when we're playing, the folks that have played a lot, it gets pretty heated, and you'll stick the machine in the car to be programming. Someone will be trying to pickpocket you, and then you forget the card in the machine. So you walk off or you run off, and then you're like, damn.
Yeah, I could definitely see that.
Someone else grabs the card. So you got a red card now. You grabbed one, right?
Yeah, I got a red card.
Right, so you got the door at the bottom there. There's just one red door.
Are these, I don't remember what you said about it, like, The paper right here, it says piece of paper with a code written on it. Are those going to have any type of value in the future, like as far as meaning, or is it?
They will do. I mean, that particular item probably shouldn't be. This is still kind of the thing we're doing is sorting the inventory for this level, but that one doesn't really have any meaning in this level. So we would just. It gives you some points, I think, but those would probably be removed. But it has a meaning in one of the other levels.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. That's pretty cool. I like the idea of that. So being able to kind of mitigate or change things around.
You got a pink key, not the orange key. Oh, pink key. This is a little bit complicated at the end. Just this gets shuffled around. Are you gonna need to drop something else?
That's what I was gonna say. So are the keys kind of like RNG, where like they'll still pop up, but it might be a different key with a different room color every time, or is that just kind of the pattern there?
They'll shuffle around a little bit because we want to make this a little bit complicated. Because normally at the end it gets pretty heated. So yeah, congrats, you completed. And
I mean,
well, you'd have it with 5 people. It's not so obvious.
that's the thing, right? Yeah. Once you get 5 other people in here with you, and then you got the one person who's just in there to troll, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can see how much of a pain in the butt that would get.
There are places where you can trap people within the game, and they'll get out only after a little while. There's some traps we plan to add, like sticky patches and stuff, so you can kind of run along and drop a sticky patch.
Oh, dude, that'd be cool. That'd be cool.
Kind of idea is to use the environment to mess with the other players.
Absolutely.
And killing them. Yeah, right now in this version you can see it says player 01, but that's in the version that we just will update tomorrow. It has the Steam names and everything in it already. So.
Oh, okay, cool. Oh, so it's going to be linked to the Steam account names.
Yeah.
That's cool. And I think that's pretty awesome. And so like maybe do like have a one of the stereotypical cartoon style sabotage modes or not modes, but moves where it's just throw a banana on the ground.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Somebody slip on a banana peel. I could see that working pretty good.
It's a bit of slapstick, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the kind of thing. And like I said, we're putting it out there pretty early, as you can tell.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I think just getting a community of players that start playing the game really helps us, because it can help us set that direction. What do people want to lean into most? And yeah, we'll try it with the competition next week. A little bit of excitement for people.
Absolutely.
And, we'd love feedback. There's our Discord as well. If people want to jump on that and ask us questions, then yeah.
Yeah, I've got the links to all of your guys' social media stuff in the description.
Oh, fantastic.
So if you guys go into the description, you guys could scroll down and just click on the links to all their stuff, their social medias, Twitter, Instagram, or Discord, all that stuff should be in there. I don't know if you guys have an Instagram, but I might.
We do have an Instagram. Actually, I think we posted just now to point to the stream.
Oh, okay. I'm pretty sure it would already be in the description as well. You could post it as well. I don't mind doing that. I don't mind you doing that, but let me see. I don't remember. I know I usually post all the links to social media in the description. I got the Twitter, Facebook, and the website, as well as, oh, I guess I don't have the Discord on here either. I could throw the Discord in there as well. I thought I had the Discord in there.
Let me drop the Discord as well. That's especially if you want to take part in the contest, then that's the place where we'll really keep updating
Gotcha. Okay.
the rules and so on.
All right. Sounds good.
Let me... My network connection's decided to be slow right now. When it lets me post, I will post.
All right.
Cool. Have you seen any other games for Next Fest released already that are looking good to you?
I haven't really I've been kind of waiting to surprise myself with the games that are going to be in Next Fest. I know your guys' game is. I've been playing a few. Like I've got Audios that just posted today, which is. Have you seen that one?
I have. Yeah, it looks fun.
Yeah, it's a neat story-driven Mafia game, and I thought it was really cool. You know, you're a guy who just wants to be done feeding bodies to your pigs. Yeah. Right. Like, I thought that was a pretty cool concept for a 3D story driven game, because a lot of the story driven games I play are narrative games or like actual point and click story games. So it was a neat concept for it. Let me see. What other ones have I been looking at here? Let me go back this way. Crafty Survivors, which is kind of like a Vampire Survivors game. I just recorded the video for that one. It's pretty cool because it's like it takes the Vampire Survivors rogue-like aspect, but it also incorporates kind of a city building aspect to it. So it's like you start off as a chef and you're wanting to rebuild your restaurant, but then you unlock other characters who have their own buildings that you also want to upgrade by collecting resources inside of the bullet hell. And then by upgrading those resources or using those resources to upgrade each character, you make them permanently more powerful on top of them being able to get their temporary upgrades in the bullet hell. So I thought that was a pretty cool idea.
Yeah, that's cool. That's almost like that combination of two styles, kind of that reminds me a bit of Loop Hero, and then there's, I guess, Cult of the Lamb, which has those two things, right? On one side you're building, on the other side you're going into the bullet hell to get more resources to come back out and do things. That's exactly it too. Yeah, that's a very good description. Like a cross between Loop Hero and Cult of the Lamb, and that's kind of similar to that, right? Because it's got like that. I like the building aspect of it, because even if you're not into the bullet hell gameplay and you just want to upgrade your characters' homes, I mean, it gives you that option to where you're kind of forced into the bullet hell, but you're only doing it for the resources. You know, like, I don't want to do this, but I'm going to do it so I can upgrade my stuff. So I always thought that was pretty cool. Motivation. Yeah. And then Pixel Shire, which is a pretty cool one. It's like a Stardew Valley-esque kind of game. I did see that, yeah. Yeah, that one I played. Deathcore. I like that game. That was a fun one, but that was more of your traditional point and click story game. Mm-hmm. It's pretty cool. You're basically the intern for the Grim Reaper. Oh yeah, that's right. That's cool. I did play with that one actually. Oh yeah. Yeah, that was fun. Actually, when I played it, it's a great way to slap you in the face if you think you're too clever, because when you do the tutorial at the beginning, I don't know if you ran into this, but you're the intern and they're like, make some coffee. Yeah. And it says, you know, if you're very familiar with point and click, just go ahead, and if you're not, ask us to explain it. So of course I'm like, go ahead, you know, they monkey out at everything else, and I couldn't get the inventory to appear. And so I had to restart the game, and then I said, okay, just explain it to me. And then it said, oh, the inventory is when you put the mouse at the bottom of the screen. It was like, oh well. That got me too. I was getting frustrated. I'm like, where the hell is my inventory? I accidentally stumbled upon it because I was like clicking all the way around the entire screen. Like, I'm missing something here. There's got to be something. And I accidentally swiped to the bottom of the screen and the little inventory bar popped up. So I kind of got lucky with that one. Yeah, I think it looks really, really well executed and fun. And I thought it was funny because it's like, yeah, if I was overconfident and then I just couldn't figure out something basic. So it's definitely right. It does. It really humbles you, doesn't it? Because you're like, oh, yeah, it's going to be easy. It's, you know, every other 1990s style point and click action adventure game that's just story. And I got this in the bag. No. And some of the little mechanics will get you too. Like, there's one part with the deer head and the light underneath the door. And I was just like, what the hell? Like, what am I supposed to do here? How do I get that? And then you figure out how to get it open, but then you're like, how do I get it to stay open now? Like, it really kind of, it can be frustrating. And I like that mechanic in a game where it's just like, you think you know it and you've got it in the bag until you open the bag, and then it's a whole different ball game. Yeah. That's good.
There's a, I don't know if you, I don't know. What do you have anticipated for the next fest?
The ones I've seen so far, there's a we can see the list as well inside of Next Fest, so I'm kind of watching the ones that go public. One that I've seen the trailer for, I haven't played any demo because demo's not there. It looks really fun. Is King of the Castle. And the trailer is awesome. It's you're a king, but you have this council of people, and they have to vote on every proposal that you make. And it's a social storytelling game, so you kind of have to convince people. And it's super well done. And the trailer is the king's head on a spike talking to you, saying how hard it is to be a king if you can't actually just make your own decisions. And so that one looks really cool. Looks super polished. There's a Deceive Inc. actually, which looks interesting. It's a heist game, so it's an online heist game. It's an FPS 3D super all singing all dancing, but obviously we have a spiritual kind of love for those kind of games since Mafia Pigs goes in that direction. So I'm sure that'll be interesting.
That'd be cool. Yeah. There's just so many that are coming out. I played a game. There's a board game. I don't know if you guys play board games or if you like board games.
Yeah.
King's Dilemma. Kind of reminds me of that one you were just talking about. Where you got to make the tough decisions. Kind of like Frostpunk, right? Where you've got to make the tough decisions. And it's a pretty cool one. They made a digital version of it. I played it on my channel one time before, I think. But yeah, it's a really cool concept because, like you said, you're trying to rule over your kingdom, but you obviously have to set the standards for people's living, and you could royally mess that up. You can absolutely mess that up, like to a point where it's people are overthrowing you. Now you're on the chopping block, end up like French Revolution style.
That sounds cool. Yeah.
It is a pretty cool one. Let me see. Yeah, I don't know. There's been a lot of announcements, and there's a lot of stuff that kind of strikes my fancy, as so to speak, when it comes down to that kind of thing. But
it'll be a busy week next week.
It will absolutely. I'm going to be playing so many games. My library is going to get way bigger than what it already is, just because a lot of the games coming out, and it's just I think it's going to be really, really good because Next Fest is always really good push for especially indie games.
Yeah.
I really respect it.
They do a great job. I mean, this is our first time. As I said, we're pretty early in it, but it's these days making the game is obviously hard, whatever you pick to do, right? But getting the word out is really difficult, and I think it's great that Steam actually has an event like this that's indie focused. Even then, there's going to be 600 or 700 games, right? So it's not that easy to stand out, but still, it's still great to have that vibe and people trying things. A lot of the demos are really experimental, which is great. So I think it's a great thing that they do this.
Yeah, and I think that's probably one of the hardest things about being an indie game channel, especially trying to showcase upcoming indie games, because we see it too many times where a really good indie game comes out, or it's slated to come out and they release a demo and they get everything up to like the alpha stage, and then all of a sudden it just doesn't have either the popularity, the funding, or anything like that to actually make it come to fruition, or it does come to fruition and then, I mean, let's be honest, sometimes some developers are just like irresponsible with the funding, so they just kind of don't have the money after it releases to be able to keep updating it and keep going with it. And then there's also that fair share of developers who come out with games that look really good, but then come to find out either A, it was just a scam, which really does put a negative impact on the indie game community as a whole.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
And then we got like the what's the other one? Like they have a cool game to release, but it never gets past that because the developers get, like we were talking about last time, right? The developers get stuck like, oh, well, I can't do this. I'm not getting the financial backing. I'm not getting the support that's needed to finish the game because it's a solo development or something like that. And then they have to put it on the back burner so they can keep surviving and living. And then you never see the game get any farther than that. And I like to showcase games that I think have a lot of potential that are worth going. There was one game, I can't remember the name of it, dude. It was called, like, I was talking to Justin about it last night, the guy in chat here, and it was called like Tales of Ilaria or Knights of Ilaria, something along those lines, right? And it was a really cool perpetual world MMORPG, and I was like, this is really cool. That's right up my alley. And basically, they just took us all for our money, you know what I mean? And they still talk about it, right? He says, I've been ripped off a few times, usually the zombie ones. Yeah, that's true from a few years ago. I haven't pre-bought a game in years now. Yeah, it's hard for me to if I see a project that I have good faith in, that I think has potential to be something big, and I see a good update and roadmap and everything like that with the game, I'll give money without the anticipation of even seeing the game because I just hope the game gets released. But that's very few and far between. You know what I mean? Like, because it's like loaning money to people sometimes, right? When you got to loan money to somebody, you just kind of write it off because you can't loan them money if you don't have it. So if you have the money to loan them, you loan them the money without the anticipation of getting it back. It's expected, but it's not anticipated because you probably won't get that money back. And well, I guess more so loaning money to family, right? It's kind of, that's kind of how I look at it. If paying $30, $40, $20 for a game in the anticipation that it's going to get released and it has good potential, I'm going to help. If that's, that's the help I could provide, that's the help I could provide. And if that $20 makes or breaks the game, then, hey, at least I put in my part, right? I tried. That's kind of what with the Ilaria game I tried. I was like, this is going to be good. I had my hopes up for it. I just got booted. But what's that new game? There's a lot of controversy over it right now because they keep pushing it back and they keep pushing it back. And they got like the funding that they needed, but it's weird because people are calling it a scam, right? But
they are, yeah. I can't remember the name of it. I know, but I know the one that you mean.
It's like the day before or something like that.
Yeah, the day before or the day after, one of those two things.
Yeah.
I think you're right, the day before.
It's a trip because it's like, okay, so you got a game that's got financial backing from an actual like financier, like an actual company, a publishing company, and you're taking all their money. You're not accepting money from the people who are donating time and effort and people who would pay for the game. So I don't see how it's a scam. I don't logically see how it's a scam unless they're trying to take the publishing company for all the money, which could be a thing. Let's be honest.
Well, that could be, although there's probably a contract in place that'll make that pretty painful for them if they try to do that. I think it's that one. I think there's a lot of hype, and I guess the sense is, at least from what I've read about and seen, is that people feel like they're being lied to. Whether or not their money's being taken or not, that's one thing, but just even your time and attention is being taken. So.
And I think that's what it is. It's suffering from the same dilemma that Cyberpunk 2077 suffered, right? It had a whole bunch of hype built up for years and years and years. It's been worked on for years and years and years, but now all of a sudden you've got all these people hyping up the game on top of the financiers for the game saying, put the game out now. And they don't want to suffer the same fate. I honestly think that's what it is. They don't want to suffer the fate from the people who are like, the general consensus or the general population of that game, the people who are really into that game saying, no, we're putting out the game now, put it out. And then all of a sudden they put out a game and now you're in full gear, but all of a sudden all your clothes are gone. You're T-posing naked down the street on a motorcycle, right? And then they're like, oh, this game sucks. No, it's your fault the game sucks because that wouldn't have happened if it wasn't so much pressure. And because a lot of the financial backers for, say, Cyberpunk, right? They would have been happy with the game getting released. A lot of people blame the pressure on that, but the pressure came from the public. The public was putting all that pressure on CD Projekt Red. The financiers were like, okay, these people are getting pissed. Put out the game. we're not losing all this money, put out the game. So now they had pressure from both sides. They had no choice but to put out the game at that point. And now it's still being hot fixed and worked on. And it's still a really good game. I like it. I've always liked the cyberpunk world. But like, it sucks when we see things like that happen to games, right? Kind of like No Man's Sky too. When it first got released, that was a garbage fire. But it's a really good game now, and it still has a dedicated fan base.
I think that to me, I think is the dilemma as a developer. You know that if you hold on to your game longer and longer, you can make it better, and then potentially build up a bigger audience and have a splash when you launch. But the danger is that you hold it too long, and then you don't have the gas once you've released, or maybe the splash isn't big enough, and then you're kind of stuck. But you're on the other side. You really want to get things out, I think, ideally early, so people can already play it, and you could kind of grow and be sure that the audience really loves it.
Absolutely.
Of course, when you're CD Projekt Red, the problem is that if you put out Cyberpunk, to thousands of players or tens of thousands of players over a long time, you might lose that massive payday because too many people have played it, too much is leaked, or whatever, right? So I guess challenge.
That, and I think people have a different mindset towards AAAs, especially AAAs.
Yeah.
Because you look at The Witcher 3, right? And Roach still just magically pops up on a roof. That's part of the game's nostalgia. It's part of its wholesomeness, right? And it's The Witcher we're talking about. It's not a wholesome game, right? But they look at it as part of, it's okay because it's The Witcher 3. But then they put out another game that has, a few glitches here and there. Granted, I don't know what the issue was. Like, I played it on PC and PS4, and I didn't have half the problems that everybody else seemed to have. But it tripped me out because I was just like, I don't see how you guys are having this many issues with the game when I'm playing on two different platforms and I'm not having any issues with it, right? Like, I there was the little glitches here and there, right? But, I don't know. It was nitpicky because the game was kind of just shat out because they were forced to put it out prematurely, and it didn't live up to the people's expectations because they didn't let the game get finished.
Yeah, I think as well they got into a pretty nasty situation with the fact that they were really targeting PS5.
That was it.
The expectation was a lot of people would have PS5s, but of course there weren't any. So
that was, I think, their biggest thing, because I didn't play, like I said, I didn't play it on PS5. I played it on PS4 because, well, at that time, I still don't have a PS5, but PS5s were almost impossible at that time to get because all the scalpers snatched them up fast.
Yeah, exactly. So they kind of fell into that window where they were hoping everyone would be playing on this premium platform and all the narrative would be about that. But what actually happened is that everybody had a PS4 and that was like the worst experience, especially at the beginning.
It was, I mean, I played it day one. I didn't really run into the issues I had. You see, Justin says, I don't mind the glitches unless it's game breaking. Yeah, that's exactly right too. He says, I know a friend of mine stopped playing Cyberpunk because he couldn't get past one mission because the game kept crashing. Yeah. See, now that would irritate me, right? That would really piss me off, which I get. But the thing with Cyberpunk is, even if, I get trying to complete the game, but like when they released it, they said they're putting in a big patch like January, right? Like right after they released it. And so I kind of would have, I was anticipating that, but the world is so big and it's so open world that there's so much other stuff to do, right? Just put that mission on hold. There's other stuff, like The Witcher. There's always something else to do. Skyrim, right? That's another one of those games that it just works, right? It doesn't just work, but it does. It works for their pocketbooks, and that's kind of what matters to a lot of these bigger AAA companies. But yeah, I don't know. I don't like I like seeing games succeed, especially some of the smaller games. Like I want to see Mafia Pigs succeed. I want to see Deathcore succeed. I want to see games that have a lot of potential and a really cool aspect, at least with people who are like-minded like myself, right? People who like the kind of games that I like and stuff like that. I want to see them succeed. So I try to, that's why I started doing the indie game channel thing, because it gives, even if it's not a huge channel, I still have a platform to kind of spread the word. And maybe somebody stumbles across my channel and says, "Oh, what's this game? This looks neat," right? And they see me running around on Mafia Pig. Next thing you know, that's one person who's telling their friends, because we all know word of mouth is the most powerful form of marketing you can get.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I was going to say, I think that's super helpful, super valuable. A lot of it's making the game is hard, but getting the word out is hard, and it's also great feedback, right? So yeah, we really appreciate it, and I'm sure the other games that you cover are the same. It is more increasingly important to be able to find places for people to experience the game and see it played, and kind of show people there's stuff other than just another reskinned this, that, or the other, which obviously there are a lot of games that
happens more times than we care to admit, doesn't it?
It does, and I don't even blame those developers. Like, you're trying to make something good, but it's yeah, it's great to be able to showcase kind of diverse ideas, and some of those will work and some of them won't.
Yep.
But that gives it a fighting chance.
And a game that I think is great and might work out good, and I might promote it over and over and over again just because I want to see it succeed, doesn't mean that 500,000 other people want to see it succeed. They might not even like the concept of the game. So, but there was a developer on Twitter talking, said something, put a tweet up the other day that's like, everybody says that making the game, coding the game, and doing all that is the most labor-intensive work. He said, but what my experience is the marketing and releasing of the game is a hell of a lot more stressful than making the game.
I would pretty much concur with that. I mean, it's hard to say. Like, building a game is hard. It depends also what you do, right? We picked early on that we were going to do multiplayer with networking, and you'd think that that's a pretty easily solvable problem. It ain't, right? It's like there's a lot of bits and pieces underneath that, but the actual promotion, because there are so many games these days, it is really tough to do it. And I get it. As a player, you have all this choice, you have all these signals. A lot of, if you're doing mobile, especially, mobile is really challenging. I think that you're just being advertised to all the time as a player.
Yeah.
A lot of the bigger companies, which have tons and tons of games in their portfolios, they're kind of cross-marketing the heck out of those.
Yep. Yeah, because you got companies that like Raid Shadow Legends, right, in the mobile community, who just, they microtransaction the hell out of you, but they've also got the budget for a horrendous amount of sponsorships and advertising, and you see it everywhere, and that's because they got the money for it. And a smaller company, like if you made a mobile game, you're not going to have that same budget that they have, so yours probably isn't going to get in the forefront like theirs would.
That's right. Yeah, so it's a big uphill, and I really like Steam for this, in the sense that I think that Steam is a more it's a more even playing field, and there's an opportunity on Steam to say, let's make a game, let's have people play it, let's learn, let's keep going, go into early access, all those things. Whereas in mobile, it's more or less like, make a game, put it out there. If the metrics aren't good after a month, you kill it.
Yeah,
try again.
And that's like, oh, go ahead.
Sad, because all that effort's just gone out of the window.
Mm-hmm. And that's like what Just was saying here. Like, yeah, Giant Citizens Kubota was an amazing game, but haven't played anything like it since. But they had zero promotion, so it never went anywhere. And that's what happens. Like indie games, like the game that stands out to me, like, because it's just a true passion, labor of love, is Dwarf Fortress, right? Like, that game was ASCII for how long, right? Almost 20 years of ASCII.
Amazing, yeah.
And then they announced that they were going to be making the Steam version,
the graphical version, yeah,
a graphic version. And the thing is their community knows that it's being single-handedly developed by two guys. And so they sat there and dealt with it. And then there's some of the bigger, influencers who wanted the game now, who are saying, when is it ready? When is it ready? And they're just the same answer, that it'll be ready when it's ready. and they didn't ever set a release date until a couple of weeks before the release date, because they didn't want to get anticipation up and they didn't want to get people's hopes built up. I honestly thought they were going to release it during Next Fest, this Next Fest right here, because it would have made sense. But because it being released around the same time that a lot of other big games were getting released and a lot more well-known games were getting released or updated or anything like that, and Christmas right around the corner, I thought that they were going to kind of just hold off on it. I wasn't expecting them to release it in November, which I was thankful for it. I bought it, of course. Yes, I love Dwarf Fortress. I played that game for years. It has such an influence on a lot of modern day indie games that we play now. But not many people have that, because I know from playing so many indie games that there's a lot of them out there, and it sucks to say it, but there's a lot of them out there that just want to vomit a game out for the money. They don't make a good game, and that's what I was kind of saying, when you were talking about the reskins. They're not trying to make a better game. They're not taking maybe a game with an open source code and modifying it and making it better. They're taking a game that already exists, putting a skin over the front of it, and then calling it something new just for the money. And to me, that's I find a lot of those games and I want to play them. And then I play them and I'm like, no, this is literally the exact same game. I've already played this game on my channel with a different name and different artwork. So it kind of sucks when it happens. But then you find that outlier that is a similar game. Even if it is just a reskin, it's a similar game. It might even be the same game, but it's been modified to their version of how they thought the game would be better, and it actually plays better. And those games, I commend those guys. I think that's great. If you have the passion or the love even for a game, just like PUBG, right? That game was just a mod, basically, and came to be one of the biggest battle royales in history.
Yep.
Because that person had love for the game. They just wanted to make it better, right? PlayerUnknown just wanted to make the game better. And that's what they did. They took the game, made it better for themselves. And then it ended up getting publishing a contract and became one of the biggest battle royales ever. So, World of Warcraft does that with their armor and weapon sets. Everything is a reskin. Yeah, that's true. That's very true. Blizzard's gone downhill, I would say, after Activision took over.
Yeah, well, it's hard to keep going on these old franchises, right?
It really is.
See if the Microsoft deal comes off, and that will be even more. And Blizzard, part of Activision, part of Microsoft. Who knows what that will bring?
I think so. It kind of gives me hope to rebuild the World of Warcraft community, because I mean, if you remember playing, I don't know if you're a big World of Warcraft guy, but most people were at one point in time. And back in the day, vanilla, Burning Crusade, Wrath of the Lich King, back in its heyday, it was just an outstanding game. There was nothing like it on the market. Now there's MMOs coming out left and right, but it being able to be cross-platformed on Xbox, I think has a massive potential for that game's popularity growth. But then you're going to get the toxic Xbox Call of Duty guys on there, right?
It happened. Yeah.
But that comes with the territory. It's the internet. You're going to have that everywhere.
Right. Yeah, that is true. I hadn't really thought about that angle. I think that's important. You could get a big growth in player base, and World of Warcraft is still one of the biggest MMOs.
Yeah.
And,
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was going to say the fact that it still retains that large player base is a big deal, because it is MMOs really, they need pretty big player bases, otherwise the world just ends up dead. So there aren't going to be 500 MMOs or even 50, right? There's going to be a top 20 or 25 that
exactly
live longest, and that WoW's going to be one of them.
The only things that come close to World of Warcraft's legacy are the, I guess, technically mobile, maybe PC mobile ports that are the free-to-play, money gouging, gotcha style, microtransaction to hell games. Path of Exile comes close, but that's because it's free to play, so you don't need to pay $15 a month to enjoy the game. Right. Warframe's another one. You know, Genshin Impact, games like that get really close, but that's only because it's free. We were talking about that yesterday with like Diablo Immortal, right? That was such a letdown. We all knew it was going to happen as soon as they announced a mobile game, but I think most of the diehard Blizzard fans that have been Blizzard fans since Warcraft all had the anticipation of saying, maybe not. Maybe they're not going to do this. Maybe they're going to release a legitimate game. And of course, we all knew in our hearts that wasn't true, but in our souls, we wished it was.
That was certainly pretty painful. Yeah, they certainly rolled out every monetization tactic in the book.
Yeah, they did. To the point where if you got a big, like one of the epic crests, it wasn't the same as a paid for epic crest.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, so people are grinding, getting these epic crests to get this good gear, but the gear that they were getting wasn't as good as if you went and just spent $100 on 20 epic crests to get the better version of the exact same gear. It was sad. It was sad seeing it happen. It was heartbreaking. It really was, because I loved Blizzard.
That is the thing. I think that hurts the most. You know, I think everybody knows that these games need to make money, and there's an aspect where if you spend money, you'll make your life easier. But if it's literally impossible to do the same thing by hard work versus just paying, or the delta is so huge, and then on top of that, there's a very big PvP element. I think it hurts a lot.
It really does, especially if you're a PvP guy. Like when I get in there and when I got on there and I played it for the first couple of times, and you get into a PvP match and you're just getting swiped up by people playing with the character that they paid $100,000 for, and their skill isn't good. They just stand in one spot and wipe everybody out because they paid the money to do it. That's what me and Justin were talking about yesterday. I think like Modern Warfare kind of, even though it's not a pay-to-win game by any means, like you're just buying skins that don't help you, but doing a skill-based matchmaking set, right? Like if Blizzard incorporated something like that, I think they would see a bigger uptake in the player base for Diablo Immortal, because people who don't want to spend all that money will now be in a group of people who aren't willing to spend that much money, and they're playing against each other. So it literally boils down to skill, and people who spent $500,000 on their characters are all going to be playing against other people who spent $500,000 on their characters. But I think the reason Blizzard doesn't do that is because now the people who played $500,000 to just wipe everybody out with one button, they have to actually be good at the game against other players who spent that $500,000. So, and that's not what they spent the $500,000 for. They spent it so they could wipe everybody out with one button. They don't want to play the game. They just want to be the biggest player in the game. It sucks to say it.
It's a pretty hard game design problem, really. There are games that it's exactly what you put your finger on. It's the balance between skill and the power of your character and so on. And if you have a game that has a relatively high skill component, then the matchmaking gets it. You're always going to end up mixing, people that have paid a lot but aren't that good with people that are good but haven't paid a lot, and then there's this kind of how do you put that? Like especially someone who's paying that money. There might be two reasons. One of them might be, they want to get into the top tier and play with the top tier people, and you need the gear to do that, and they're willing to spend the money. That's sort of a relatively good reason.
Yeah.
But then there's another reason, which is I just like to be OP and walk out into the world and smack people up.
And that's for mm-hmm. Yeah, because I totally get spending money on your character and making your character a little bit more powerful, or at least being able to level your character up with your peers or your friends who play the same game, but you don't have the time because you might be working a 15-hour shift or a 20-hour shift and not have time to actually play the game. And on that note, sure, go pay a $20 bill here and there and get your character to where you can still go run dungeons and quest with your friends at the same level. But I don't get the whole, I mean, I do though, right? Like, I get that there's people out there that only want to play games to call themselves a gamer, and they just spend all the money to make themselves look like the best. I don't, me personally, I don't get it, but I understand is, I guess, kind of what I was trying to say. I understand the logic behind it, but I don't get the logic behind it, right? But like, Blizzard kind of had it sorted out up until Wrath of the Lich King with the battlegrounds, right? Like, you can go play Warsong Gulch as a level 19 twink, be completely geared out, top tier gear for your level 19 character back in the day, and just smash on everybody. But all that did was it made me want to get better at the game and get that same gear so that I can hold a candle to the same people who were just wiping me out, just looking at me funny, right?
Right.
I didn't have to spend $1 million doing it. I just had to play the game more and get better at my game. Learn my character better, get the better gear, learn how to get the tier sets and all that stuff, and actually research my character rather than just, oh, here's a $500,000. Go, let me get this. I do know people who paid for World of Warcraft accounts back in the day, because that was a very popular thing to do as well.
Right.
But it was still a skill-based game. So there were so many people who would show up in front of Orgrimmar with, a level 70, like a Tauren warrior, and they didn't know how to play the character at all. So you knew exactly what they did. You knew they paid for the game. They paid for their character, because how do you have a character that's that leveled up with all that gear and you can't play it?
Yeah, here's an idea of what should be done. I don't know if maybe this has actually happened, but so let's say you buy a ton of OP gear, you're not very good at the game, and you go out and you get into some combat with someone who's more skillful and then haven't paid as much. So what the game should do is it should do like a differential between like the gear differential or something like that, right? And if you're beaten by someone whose gear is like less than half as good as yours,
levels, everything is 24 hours, spending 25 million supposedly with some guy who got lucky with Bitcoin. Oh, that makes sense, dude.
So it creates a dynamic where
Ants Kingdom,
if you're
I think
spending
it was called, damn, that's crazy.
Great gear, what's going to happen is people will take it off you if you're not actually good at the game.
Yeah, and that's like the old Diablo thing, right? You go run around and get all your gear in Diablo 2 and then get ganked.
That's right. But there should be some kind of, like, if it just happens all the time, it'll be annoying and no one will spend any money and the game will die. But you find a way to make it like, yeah, I kind of deserve that.
Yeah, you mitigate it, right? Like there's got to be a way to find a happy medium with people. So you could do, you could pay for your stuff, but just know that this is a free-for-all type of PvP game. So you get got, we might take your shoulders if they're good enough.
It gives value to everyone else in the game, right? Got to find the people that are big spenders. They'll drop some good stuff.
Yeah, because it gives the big spenders, the whales, as they're called, the ability of getting good at the game. But on top of that, it also gives them the ability of, maybe they get bored with their character, but there's not really a better gear set. They've got nothing else to do, but they've just kind of got that itch to spend money. Well, what are they going to do? They're going to find another game. They're going to go play Lost Ark or, one of those games. But if they lost their shoulders, now they got to go spend another 10 grand to buy a new set of shoulders. And I don't get, like, I don't know. Maybe it's because I don't come from that kind of money. You know what I mean? But
yeah, it's hard to imagine.
It really is, dude. It's a difficult thing to think about. You like, how do you have, like, I don't know. Because even if I came in, like, you look at somebody like Elon Musk, right? You come in with that kind of money, he's not out doing that kind of thing, right? Because he can't even imagine spending that kind of money. And it's like, that's kind of weird.
It is. I think it's pretty difficult to understand someone who'll drop those kind of amounts of money on a game. I guess they value their free time extremely highly because they're making so much money during their day job or whatever they're doing. But still, if you really step back and thought about it, you'd be like, I could spend a lot less on this game and still have fun, and I could probably put this money to a way better charitable use of some kind.
Absolutely. That's the thing too, right? And it helps you out financially because that's a tax write-off if you donate money.
That is true. Maybe that's a new trend. People should be advertising, charitable giving within games.
Yeah, because it's, I mean, as far as I know, it's still a tax write-off. So you might as well work on that a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, it kind of cracks me up thinking about that kind of thing. I mean, I don't know. It's hard to imagine. Like Justin says here, he says they should separate the pay-to-win players and the free players. And I can agree with that. I think that would be a fun lobby to watch, especially if some of the big pay-to-win people are streamers. Watching them rage because they spent 10 grand on this character last weekend and they're getting smashed on by another whale that paid 100,000. That would be so funny to watch them rage like that. You'd see like insane amounts of rage going through Twitter or Twitch and YouTube.
Some games do it well. They kind of put the higher tiers you can't survive up in those tiers if you're not. This is the trade-off, right? If the higher tiers are really all people with OP gear, then someone who can't spend the money isn't going to go there. But the plus side is, as a good player, I still know, whatever. The middle gold tier is the one that I can reach, and that's for people who aren't spending much money, right? And I'm having fun in that tier.
Yeah.
The people who are spending lots of money, they're kind of measuring the size of their bank account against everybody else. Fine, let them.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing, right? It's like they should, and I think that's where Justin was going with that, right? Like, if you're having a pissing contest with the next billionaire out there, then you guys have your own server. Mm-hmm. Because then it does come mostly to a how much money are you willing to spend game, but there's still a little bit of a skill gap.
Yep.
Whereas somebody who's spending maybe in the tens of thousands on a game, they're going to focus more on their skill, potentially their skill, but they're still going to go. Once they hit that 100,000 mark, now they're up in the next tier of play with the people who have gone to the, $100,000 mark. And I think, like you said, I think if it grouped people together by, I guess, tiers of money spent, if you're going to have a pay-to-win game, then at least it kind of keeps that skill thing there, or whoever's got the most money within that skill cap there. And kind of like it goes back to kind of the same mindset as being a level 19 twink in Warsong Gulch. This guy spent so much more time and effort learning the game, playing the game, getting the gear for the game than the rest of us. That's why he's smashing on all of us. He deserves to be the best. Mm-hmm. So you get that player you get a group of 10 players who've spent $999,099, but they left out that 99 cents. Now they're not going into that 100,000 mark. So they're going to be the best on that server or in that, I guess, realm or that layer of the server.
Yeah, lots of interesting times on the monetization side.
I agree. I absolutely agree. I think it's funny to watch because it's scary. I laugh about it because it's scary because you can slowly start seeing that mobile game microtransaction mindset slowly leach its way into console and PC games. And I think it's going to be a detriment to the PC and console markets because nobody wants to spend $80. We play games online. We play games, on our PCs, on our consoles. You spend upwards of $80 on a game. You're not going to want to sit there and say, okay, well, I paid $80 for this game. Let me buy this $100 DLC. But to play that game, now I've also got to pay this much money on top of that. Plus, I got to buy all this gear to get good because I don't stand a chance in this game, which is my favorite game. It's kind of sad. Like Blizzard's take on the microtransactions of World of Warcraft are, I guess, kind of okay because it sucks, but you're only buying pets or monthly game time or WoW Gold. Yeah. And it kind of mitigates the amount of, I guess, gold farming or the amount of people who used to do the gold farming from back in the day. It kind of canceled that. because now you pay $20, go get 100,000 gold. From Blizzard themselves. You don't have to worry about maybe potentially getting your account hacked and all your stuff gone. And so it kind of, they kind of worked their way around that. But then they saw how many people were willing to spend that $20 on top of the $15 a month for WoW Gold and for the pets and for the armor sets. And the armor sets are just cosmetic anyways. But, they saw how many people were willing to do that. And like, okay, well, let's put this into Diablo and we're going to put it on mobile because it's a good way to do it. And because people on mobile games, we all know, like most mobile game players know that they're there to spend money. They know, like that's the whole gotcha mindset, You hate to see it, but it happens.
Yeah, I think the spending money, are you paying $80 up front? Are you paying stuff over time? There are good and bad patterns for both, right? I mean, the bad pattern for the $80 up front is the game hardly gets maintained afterwards, right? It's just like they take your money and don't do anything.
Yeah.
But the good pattern is you pay $80 and the developer actually really puts the effort in and keeps that game maintained for a long time. And I think then later on, if they do have a DLC, it's pretty understandable. And it's normally, if they do it right, then it's a pretty big expansion.
Yeah.
I think the real tricky thing is with the in-game economies is that if you end up recreating a situation where if I put money in,
that's funny. I used to farm gold too, but it was only for my ults and for my guild.
On that reward that entire time, which is like accelerates my ability to be better than someone who didn't put that money in. I think is a huge problem. That's like recreating.
Yeah, I could totally see how it'd bring prices down for that.
World, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, if you could do things like buy WoW Gold and then buy a mine that gives you WoW Gold every month, then that's a really bad pattern because it would mean that you're better off forever.
Yeah, exactly.
So the people who can't buy a mine basically just lose over the long term.
They lose over the long term. Yeah, exactly. But like, you got people like FromSoft, right? Where like they put out a game and they constantly maintain it. Even if it's not like on the forefront, they usually try to make the game as bug free and fixed as possible, to where if they do put out a DLC, it actually improves the game in one way or another, or expands the game, like the term expansion actually says, rather than just a bunch of bug fixes. And that's, I think, the big problem with a lot of these big games companies nowadays is they'll put it out as an expansion. They'll put a new skin out or something, call it an expansion, and all it is just bug fixes. They're just fixing problems that already existed, but they're going to charge you $50 for it. Yeah, and I don't think people see that.
Really wrong, yeah. Yeah, you really want, if you're going to pay extra for something, there should be a real player benefit to it. Something really genuinely new, not just fixing some stuff that you should have fixed in the first place.
Yeah, like RimWorld, right? RimWorld, it's always been right around the same price, like $30-$40. I don't even think $40. I think it was like 30, and now it's up at $35 right now, $34.99. But even their expansions that they release, it's like $20 here, $20 here, $20 here, but it actually changes the game. It's not game changing to where you don't recognize it, but it actually adds way more depth to the game. And I think that's kind of like where I was going with like the whole like an expansion thing, right? Like their expansions are actually expansions. Blizzard, World of Warcraft, their expansions are still expansions. But there's too many people who will release an expansion or a DLC for the game that's you're just paying for the bug fixes, and that's what sucks to see.
No.
It happens too much.
Well, we will definitely try not to do that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, and and I get it, right? Like I said, like with RimWorld, we could use that as an example again. They release the bug fixes and all that stuff, or Tynan does, but they release a full-fledged expansion on top of that, and that justifies it. But like when you're paying for a DLC for a game, it kind of sucks to see when you're paying for a DLC for a game and the only thing that you're really getting is maybe a new skin, right? Like I don't see you guys doing that kind of thing. Like that whole Blizzard mindset, that Activision mindset, right?
We definitely want to make it that people are happy. They're really getting a return for whatever they're paying for. That's, you know, a real win rather than just patches and things like that.
Yeah, because I think that's kind of it's not the biggest factor, but it's a big kind of bonus for people who play a lot of indie games, because they can pretty much say, I'm buying this game, even if they release a DLC or if they release an expansion. It's not just a hotfix. It's not just this or that, right? It's like, if a developer play or releases a game, you could pretty much guarantee that when they're done working on that game, they're done working on that game, right? Like, we all kind of, anybody in the indie game industry or plays a lot of indie games kind of has come to terms with that, right? When a developer stops working on a game, it's pretty much done. This is what you get from here on out. They might put out a hot fix every, 6 months or a year or something like that. But for the most part, they're done. There's not going to be anything left of it. But it's also not an $80 game that you're expecting to last, 30 years, right? Like, no game's really expected to last that long, but, at least, I don't know how I'm trying to word this. I know it's coming off weird.
Well, I think it's all about expectations. That's my sense of what you're trying to say. Maybe I'm getting it wrong, but that if you're paying a high price point for a AAA game, and then for whatever reason that game doesn't really, it gets minor patches but doesn't really change.
Exactly.
And especially if you're having to pay for some of those patches and they're not really meaningful, that's very disturbing. A lot of indie games are priced at a lower price point, and I think the ones that succeed, they generally do provide value for money when they produce something new. There'll be maybe another cost, but it's not another $80. It's maybe the game costs $25 in the first place, right? And then you pay another $15 for an expansion or something. The price point is still a lot lower than you paid for that AAA game, which is sitting in the sand. And
exactly.
And I think there's actually another element to it, which is that if you go to an Activision, right, for them to invest in a game over the long term, it's got to be absolutely killing it.
Oh, dude.
To even affect their revenues, right? So they're more likely to cut a game, which if it was a smaller studio, they would not cut that game because the revenue is absolutely great for them. Right?
Exactly.
So that's a factor.
That is a huge factor. And that's kind of what I was talking about with Justin yesterday too, as well. It's like, they're a company that's got, in the tens of thousands, maybe even 100,000 employees. They've got to pay all those people. And so their games, they have to be more expensive. So they have to make a game that's going to be super successful, that they can charge $80 for and justify spending $80 or charging $80 for, and push it out to the masses, because they're going to spend, $3 million on their marketing budget on top of that. So now they got to recoup all of that money and all that stuff. And when they release the DLC, it's like they don't have to do all the marketing. So that's like almost pure profit for them, because it's already something that's there. They just haven't unlocked it in the game's code yet, Because you see that a lot too. And like, especially on Kickstarters, where they're like, oh, get this game here, and it looks really good. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, but we got this stretch goal here where if you unlock this, we're going to include this expansion. Well, I mean, if you've already got the expansion made, why don't you just charge a little bit more and include it into the game itself? So I get why they do that. I'm mostly talking about board games on that one, right? Like, if you've already got the expansion already made, just kind of throw that in there, but maybe or push it out and release it later on, But if it's already part of the game and it fixes the game or makes the game better, just include it. You're going to be happier in the long run. You'll sell a lot more copies, because if you don't add that, now guess what? Everybody's going to complain about it, and nobody else is going to play your game after the influencers get their hands on it. And I know that kind of hurts a lot of indie game companies too, because influencers, all it takes is the right influencer to put one bad word out about the game, and all of a sudden it's just like, okay, nobody's playing this game anymore because this guy's got, 500,000 people that they just said, don't play this game to. And that's kind of got to get painful for some of these developers too. It's another stress on top of getting their games released, not just making the game, but released.
Yeah, it can be for sure. It's a very challenging environment to communicate the game that you have and getting the word out. And some of influencers do a great job, some less so, and you can get caught on the wrong side of that.
Yeah. Yep. Especially because it just takes that one person, and that's kind of what makes, I think, it kind of makes it could literally, I think, make or break an indie game studio. Because you get one of those, like I said, one of those huge influencers with a massive following, and they say, no, this game's shit, don't ever buy it, don't ever get anything from these guys. Well, unfortunately, they have a lot of really dedicated fan base, and now those people are going to be like, no, I'll never play this game again. Oh, don't ever. And then now they're telling their friends, and again, we know the power of word of mouth marketing, and all of a sudden it's just snowballs into oblivion, and nobody has any control over it because somebody just wanted to be a jerk that day. They might have just woke up in the wrong side of the bed, and now all of a sudden somebody's career is over because of it. Like, I don't know. There's not a lot of people though that actually, like, there's a fair amount of them, sure, but there's not a lot of people that have a true belief in, I guess, fair and honest reviews. That's like out of the window anymore, because you can give your opinion and it's always just opinion, but if you have the right platform and a big enough platform, you could literally make or break somebody. And I think it's cool because it does help a lot more people out than used to get. Like back in the day for indie games on Steam, it was like there was no traction. Either somebody got the game or they didn't. And then once the YouTube indie game reviews started coming through and people were like, no, this game's dope, play it. And that helped out a lot of indie game studios. And I think that's a really cool part of it. But I also think that if somebody says, oh, I worked with this guy at this studio at one point and he's a jerk, and they're friends, they're like, oh no, yeah, screw that guy then. We're not gonna promote his game. We're gonna make him sound like crap. And I don't think that's fair.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think in general it's more, luckily that doesn't happen so often. I shouldn't jinx ourselves, right? But like, it's more to do with there's so much out there. It's just getting noticed is kind of hard. There are
enough.
definitely times when a streamer can put out negative reviews, and maybe they're saying something which is right about the game, and you as a developer need to fix that. Then hopefully whoever it was will recognize that you did and kind of come back around. Maybe they're just trash talking, and then that's a challenging situation. I think as a developer, then you gotta try to find a way to show that what's being said isn't true, which is difficult because you're the one who doesn't have the platform.
Yeah.
Although I think that in general, I think the hardest thing is it's even getting talked about at all. So maybe having a fight with an influencer paradoxically might actually help you.
It could, because some people might be like, you know what, screw that guy. You're right. Yeah, this influencer sucks, dude. Screw him. If he says this game sucks, that means it's probably a great game, right? So it does probably work both ways. I could totally see that.
I'm hoping not to try it. So.
Well, like there's a game on my channel that I made a video for, and I reached out to the developer before I put the video up. And I said, look, there's these little things here that are happening in the game that kind of make the game unplayable. And they came back at me and said, well, maybe it's something in your system that's causing these problems. And I said, well, this is literally the only game I have this issue with, so I'm pretty sure it's not my system. Mm-hmm. Then they came back at me with this real, like, aggressive message. And I'm like, look, I'm going to put out the video. I was giving you guys a chance to maybe patch it and then do an update. Let me know when it's ready, and then I'll make a video without the bugs in it, because I want to give you guys a fighting chance. But because the way you just came at me, I'm putting the video out the way the video is, and we just live with it. I'm not making another video for your game. And then they came back, well, no, we're sorry. I didn't mean to come out. No, it's too late now. You are, the damage is done, bro. You had a chance. I came at you very reasonable. I didn't say your game's garbage. I didn't say anything like that. I don't if there's something that needs fixed, I'm not going to come at you sideways. I'm just going to let you know, like, hey, I had fun with the game. This is what happened, blah, blah, blah. When I made this move here, this ended up happening. When I'd go to move left, my character would move right. Or if I started moving right, my character would never stop moving right. And I was just giving you an opportunity to, fix that little bit of code. And I could put out a video without those bugs so that it's not that way. I'm not trying to come at you in any way, but because you decided to tell me that, basically I'm a dirtbag because I told you that there was bugs that could make your game better, and I don't want to show off your game the way it is, because they just kept asking me, play the game, play the game, play the game, play the game. Have you played the game yet? And finally I got tired of it, and I just played the game, made the video. And I told them, I'm going to post a video as is. If you guys don't care, that's fine, because they know it's a work in progress, this, that, and the other thing. It was a mobile game that was being ported over to PC, which I don't really play mobile games anyway, so it was kind of frustrating. But kind of gave him an opportunity, and that way it looked better, right? Would you, if you saw a video of a game that was buggy and almost unplayable because of the bugs, is that going to make you say, oh, you know what, I'm going to go play that game, that looks good? No, it's going to make you be like, so the developers aren't going to fix it, right? And I even in my video, I didn't say anything negative about the developers or anything like that. Like I said, the video was already recorded, and I told them, like, well, there's these bugs here. Almost makes the game unplayable, but you could still kind of somewhat play it. But I'll go ahead and relay this message over to the developers and see about, see what they say about getting that fixed. Right? I was giving the game the benefit of the doubt because I want to give indie games the benefit of the doubt. I think they deserve it. There's a lot of good games, even if it's a game, like I said, if it's a game I don't typically play, I would never play, I still wanted to give it the benefit of the doubt. That way, I might have actually loved the game and been completely wrong about the game. But yeah, I think that kind of mindset with some of the developers is honestly why they end up getting negative reviews from like content creators.
Yeah, I think it's definitely an unfortunate reaction on their part. I think you did exactly the right thing. It's like very generous thing to say, give them a heads up and say, hey, like there's this issue. And, what you would expect in that situation as a developer, you should do is like, you take it seriously. I mean, you didn't just waste your time for fun. You made a video because you wanted to cover it and you put the effort in, and you're giving them a chance to correct the record, which is more than a lot of people do. And I think that's, as a developer, you should take that feedback as gold. Now, maybe there is an issue, right? But then you should make the effort to get to the bottom of it. And if one person, even if one person had that bug or had those bugs on their system, you should figure out why. Right? I mean, I'm sure you're not running some completely weird ass configuration, right? So
maybe they developed it specifically, or when they ported it from mobile over, they didn't optimize it for AMD. It was only optimized for Intel. That could have been a deciding factor. That easily something that small could have been what made it work on everybody else's system and my system, right? What kind of processor are you using? What's your graphics card? How much RAM do you have? Right? Little questions like that easily could have maybe solved the problem, or at least clarified what might have been the issue. Because again, I played games I'm an AMD guy, but I played games that were optimized for Intel that ran like crap on my system because it was AMD. So I'd have to maybe play with the graphics down a little bit lower, or, just little stuff that easily I could fix because I know I'm playing a game that's not optimized for my system. But even then, most games nowadays, even if it's only optimized for Intel or AMD, either way, they still play on each other's system. They just might not be as good.
Yeah, normally it should work. Yeah. Well, sorry to hear about that particular game, but I guess they probably need to think about their strategy for dealing with feedback.
Yeah, I think after I let them know, like, yeah, I'll never make another video for you guys again, and you guys came at me just completely the wrong way. You guys really could have been a lot more professional about it. I think after I brought that to their attention, they were just like, oh, okay. Like, I don't know how many people they've had play their game before, but they kept contacting me. Play it, please. Will you make a video? And I'm like, yeah, I'll make a video. And I finally did. And like I said, I just wanted to give them a fair chance, just like when I got accepted for your guys' playtest. before I made any videos on the playtest, I got a hold of you and said, do you care if I make a video?
Yeah, you did.
Because I don't want to showcase a playtest game that isn't even close to finished yet, unless the developer says it's okay. Because it might not be in a state that you want me to show it in. You might just be trying to, okay, well, let's test this graphic, or let's test this animation, or let's test this, and then get the feedback for it and be good to go. But I always ask, if I'm part of a playtest, I always say, like I reach out to the developer first, like, do you care if I make a video during the playtest? Because again, some of it might be a proprietary hush information that they don't want anybody to see yet. Mm-hmm. So I try to do that because, I mean, it's more professional that way. And it's a good faith thing. To me, it's more of a good faith thing. I know if I was putting out a game on a playtest that wasn't ready for public display, I would be like, give us a couple of months. Let's go ahead and keep working on the playtest, but we'll find more bugs, but we want to get these things fixed, or we want to patch this up, or we want to put a little bit more polish here. Okay, cool. And then I would respect that and obviously wouldn't make the video.
Yep.
But
definitely great way to go about it.
Yeah, I think it's important to go that way, because if you don't, you're privy to the playtest part of the game.
Yep.
And sometimes people don't want to showcase that because it's exactly that. It's a play test. It's not an open beta. It's not an open play test. It's not a public play test. It's not even, it's not an open alpha. It's literally locked down to a specific group of people selected to be part of the playtest. And I think that people should respect that as well. I think everybody should respect that and not make, if you're if you were selected to be part of a playtest, you should always ask the developer if it's okay if you make content on it. Mm-hmm. Because I've seen playtest videos, and then all of a sudden the playtest video would disappear, and then there's another video saying, oh, I put up a video that I shouldn't have put up.
Right. Well, and you also wasted your time, which is not great. Yeah.
Exactly. I'm spending hours of my day playing the game, editing the video, doing all this, getting all the commentary and everything ready, and doing all my polishing on a game to put it out, and then the developer will be like, no, take that down. We never give you the okay, or please don't do that. I know for the most part, unless you sign an NDA, you're not really stuck under an NDA, but because you're part of a playtest, you should still treat it as an NDA, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's a good rule of thumb.
Yeah, if you don't have permission to talk about it, if you don't have explicit permission from the developers or even the publishing studio, sometimes, because sometimes the developers you can't get a hold of, so you just really reach out to the publishing studio. If they're different people, get permission from somebody to showcase the game. Don't just do it, because before I started doing video game content on YouTube, I still do. I play a lot of tabletop role-playing games and board games at home. And I've been part of quite a few tabletop role-playing game playtests, closed playtests with, they're all released now so I could talk about them, but like the Fallout role-playing game, the Dune role-playing game, the Dishonored role-playing game, and Pathfinder 2. I was part of that playtest as well. And of course I had to sign an NDA for all of those. And I had to have everybody who was part of my playtest group sign an NDA as well. But I did that. And I guess maybe because of that experience I've had, I've always made sure I had permission. Because yeah, you're going to get the leaked information and stuff. But I mean, sometimes people, it's just, to me, like I said, it's a good faith thing. I expect people to trust me because I put trust in people. And so I would rather reach out and get the okay than to kind of go full bore, be like, hey guys, guess what? I just got accepted as playtest for Mafia Pigs. Let's see how the game plays. And then you guys be like, hey, would you mind taking that video down? Or anything like that. Or like maybe you talk to another developer studio and be like, yeah, this guy here, yeah, don't put him as part of your playtest. He's going to make videos. He doesn't talk to you. There's no communication, right? So you got to kind of respect the art. That's my goal. Respect people treat people the way you want to be treated. That's a good rule of thumb.
I think it is. Yeah. No, you did a great job with that, and I think that's a good way to think about it. It's complicated when you're making the game and you want people to test it and you want also people to know about it, but there's certain things you don't know exactly how you're going to market it yet, or you don't know when it's going to release. There's lots of things that if some things get out there beforehand, depending, it's actually more of a problem if you're a bigger publisher, because if stuff goes out and has your name attached to it, then people start making all sorts of kind of like guesses about what's coming. Sometimes that's good for you, like because it creates buzz, but often it creates a problem because you kind of got to, like, I don't know, the community gets in its head that you're making XYZ and you're not actually making XYZ, and then when you don't make XYZ, they're like, wow, you didn't make it.
Exactly.
So I think it's good always to be cautious. Yeah.
Especially when you got some of like some of the huge influencers, right? And they're like, "Oh yeah, I was playtesting this, and this is in the game." And because with the one that comes to mind was I don't remember who it was, but the GTA 6, right? The GTA 6 kind of leak, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I was playing this, and this is here, and this is here." Well, now if that doesn't stay in the game, now the studio is almost obligated because this. I don't remember their name. I wish I remember their name. But they had like 100,000 people in their stream because they were talking about GTA 6 before even it was announced, essentially, right? And they were like hinting towards it, but Rockstar hasn't like done an official announcement or anything. And this guy's like, "Oh yeah, I'm part of the GTA 6 playtest, and this is here, and this is here." And it's like, first off, you're probably going to lose a bunch of money because I'm pretty sure they might sue you for that. That's a big leak. You broke NDA for sure. They'll probably never work with you again. But now, if it was a mechanic that they put in the game to test out during the playtest and they decided, yeah, this isn't working, now they're kind of obligated because now there's at least 100,000 people who are expecting to see it in the game, and they're going to feel that pressure. Like you said, now they're kind of under the thumb of the public because somebody said something they shouldn't have said.
Not great. Yeah.
And that's got to hurt. I mean, I know it's more of a detriment than a benefit to publishers as well as developers. So it sucks. As well as like, so Cyberpunk, back to Cyberpunk. I played the role playing game a lot when I was younger. I loved the role playing game. When they were getting ready to release Cyberpunk Red, I didn't get on that play test. I wish I did, but I wasn't part of that play test. But everybody kept asking them, "When are you releasing it? You need to release it. You need to release it. It's ready. It's ready. It's ready." And they're like, "No." And so anytime you went onto the website to say, "Hey, did they make a release date yet?" No, the same thing was always the same. It'll be ready when it's ready. When are you releasing the game? When it's ready. Yeah. And it never went out any earlier, and it never went out any later. Exactly when it was ready is exactly when it was released. It was like Gen Con 3 years ago, I think, something like that. Mm-hmm. So that mindset, I get some people can't live by that mindset either, right? Because some people want to get the game done because, like we were talking about, they have the pressure on them. But I think if society, which I think is the biggest detriment to bad games, if social media, I should say, not necessarily society, but social media, if it didn't have such a pressure on a lot of studios, we'd see a lot more good games than good games that need a lot of fixing, because that constant pressure from social media putting pressure on, again, the financial institutes that are putting pressure on the studios, that are putting pressure on the developers, it kind of trickles downhill, and that's like a really, really bad thing. I think it's kind of done worse for the gaming industry than it has benefited it by a long shot.
Yeah, you can have a lot of pressure build up and people get frustrated.
Yeah.
I don't know whether this applies to CD Projekt Red with Cyberpunk, right? But there is a challenge with, I don't think it probably did apply to them, but when you're investing in a game, you're not getting paid for that until you release it.
Exactly.
So it's a financial investment you're making over time. So your risk of building up all the time, and the longer you leave it, the more investment you've made without knowing it's going to pay off. And you've got to finance that somehow. Now, in their case, they had The Witcher and everything, right? So I don't think that was such a challenge. Although I imagine making Cyberpunk was pretty expensive. They had to put a lot of people on it. So that as a studio, it's a challenge from a cash flow perspective. If you want to make the game right and you want to make the game, be the best it can be, but you also can't go too far because you'll literally run out of money before you can launch it. So it's kind of like this.
Yeah, and that's the
equation.
bad thing. Yeah, and you're right, and that's good. It puts too much pressure on the investors. Have too much pressure on the studios. You're absolutely right about that because they're not making money, but they just invested, say, like Cyberpunk, right? Like just a kind of a rough estimate. I'm sure there's some investors out there that were probably investing tens of millions of dollars to this game. And knowing that, well, this game's getting released at $70 and it's projected to release or sell like 100 million copies on the first day. So that's a big, so people are like, that's great. Yeah, that you just hit the jackpot now. And because the game ended up taking, 4 years, potentially should have been 6, people started getting crappy about it. Like, no, and the investors are like, we need our money back now. So like you said, they start running low on funds because nobody else is reinvesting. No, they're not getting any new investors because they're scared that the other investors that have already invested have just lost their money. And I could see how that could be just like a total, I guess, kind of a huge negative when you're looking for investors, especially from big AAA studios who probably get those hundreds of $1,000,000 worth of investors in there.
Yeah, it's definitely a challenge to manage that situation.
Mm-hmm.
This conversation is awesome, but I'm afraid I have to drop in a second.
Oh no, you're fine.
Other people knocking on my door to go do something.
All right.
But it was been great to cover the whole games industry. I think we covered, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, we actually did. But yeah, it was good talking to you again, and it was fun playing the game. I'll be playing more of the multiplayer, giving it a little bit more testing and stuff like that, and playing through. I know Justin's got a key. Maybe me and him will jump into a lobby and play.
Awesome. Yeah, I really appreciate it. I appreciate you giving us the time as well and giving us the opportunity. And quite a few things will drop in the game the next few days. And we're really looking forward to next week. Not just our game, but other stuff as well. Should be good.
Yeah, it's been fun. All right, Justin, we'll see you later, man. Thank you for stopping by and hanging out with us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. I'm excited. There's a lot of games out there, but yeah, Next Fest has got me pretty pumped up, and I'm happy for you guys. I want to see you guys like absolutely succeed in your ventures and in this game because it's a really cool concept for a game that not a lot of people have kind of done. Right? There's a lot of games that do this kind of thing, but not the way you do. So
thank you. Appreciate that.
It's a cool concept. It's cool art. It's humorous. It kind of ticks all the boxes, so to speak. And yeah, so thank you for coming by. Thank you for taking time out of your day to talk with me and show me the ropes of the multiplayer and explain how the multiplayer goes and stuff like that.
Happy to. Yeah, really glad to do it. And great to have this conversation. And thank you for the support. Appreciate it.
Yeah, not a problem, man. Thank you again. And yeah, we'll talk to you next time.
Yep, exactly. Yep. And have fun next week with all the demos.
Oh, absolutely, man.
All right.
All right. Bye.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you. Well, that was a nice little chat with the developers. Well, that was Nyx from TIMEWARP Studios, and we were checking out the multiplayer for Mafia Pigs. I will go ahead and let me see here. Let me do this. This is what we're going to go ahead and do. Mess up real quick. Need to make sure chat replay is on. Should be. I'm not seeing it. Yeah, there's live chat replay still on. I just wanted to make sure. But so basically, if you pull one of these keys, the first key posted by Steven is used. I know that from Justin, but you could try the following keys underneath of that. If you are watching this later, just throw one of those into Steam. You might be able to get the key for the demo before Next Fest. If not, the game will be available during Next Fest next week on Monday when Next Fest begins. So at that point in time, you'll be able to play the game. It's a very fun game. I really enjoy it. I like the multiplayer aspect of it. If you guys weren't here for that, it'll be in the VOD. But yeah, it's been super fun. So thank you guys for stopping by. Thank you for liking, subscribing, ringing the bell. Let me know what you guys thought about the game, what you thought about the video, what you thought about the conversation in general, because we kind of touched base on everything in the gaming industry at that point in time. And, or at this point in time. And as always, you guys have yourselves